Hello there. Welcome to a special edition of Over 50 Starting Over. And I am with Thomas Helfrich, the AI nerd. And he had me on last week on his podcast, and he's super engaging. I had to ask him to come on ours because he has a lot of crossover content with ours. I obviously talk a lot about us over 50, whether you're getting squeezed out of corporate America or you want out, to finally, in the third act of your life, do things the way you want. You don't have, this sounds so negative, but it's not like you have a ton of years to leave your mark. So you want to do it now. And to leave your mark, you need incredible content to bring people in. I don't talk enough about that. That's what we're going to talk about today. Content. Hey, did you see Charlie there, Thomas? we talked about, let me bring you in. Thomas, tell us a little bit about Estero.ai.
Yeah. Well, thank you, by the way, for having me on.
Sure.
And we were talking about my skill set. I'm happy to wreck the average IQ of any meeting. So anytime I can just drive that down.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. The Untitled.ai is a startup I founded in 2020. It really solves one problem, the problem of time, that it takes too long to create content. It takes too much effort to drive engagement. And you're often guessing, not often, you're almost always guessing on what strategy to apply, which often results in dismal results. Better way to draw upon my expertise in intelligent automation, which is where you grab people and technology and the right technologies and the right people at the right moment to accelerate a process or automate it. And I applied that with real full effect, my own personal profile on LinkedIn and other places. And now we do this for customers. I guess the kind of the high level.
Oh, that is a high level, and we got to dig a little deeper on that. I have questions. When you said that you applied this to your own LinkedIn content, can you tell me a little bit more about that? I'm very curious.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is a profile. I looked at that as we backed up. I had a goal in the first part of 2021, January. We just launched the company, formed it, Delaware, the whole thing, right? We didn't have a website up till March, but in January, I decided I wanted to become an influencer on LinkedIn. I wanted to be able to write for major publications. I wanted to have no restrictions on the amount of content I could create, because I was always faced with the problem and the blessing of I talk well about technology, I talk well about topics, but I absolutely loathe writing. And what I found is most people are the same way. It's not that I loathe it. It just takes forever. And I just never get my thoughts out, chalk it up.
I understand.
Or whatever it is, but I just cannot get it done. And even writing it through dictation doesn't work, right? So I was like, there's got to be a better way. I mean, there's all these AI writing companies and there's all this AI automation technology. There's got to be a way to put it all together elegantly. Mm-hmm. And so my goal was to do that. And so what I started doing was writing content. I talked to some experts on how to write content better. Then I started applying where AI could supplement with better titling, better research, better curation, better writing. And as I applied this, I could create a lot more content. And because of this, and it was very targeted towards certain groups of people I wanted to connect with, it worked really well to build a following and a connection base. And then we added more technology and more content types and just continually experimented to find kind of the sweet spots of what people engage with. Not for the, not just cats and dogs and, sad stories, but actual meaningful content that's somewhat on brand, someone on point,
right?
But at the same time, it added value to the viewer. And that's been the approach. So that's once again, kind of high level, but it's lots of types of content, lots of experimentation to see what the algorithm picks up on, what your follower base does. And it's, there's no one size fits all, B2C versus products versus services versus a podcast has different types of followers, different types of viewers and listeners, and they want different types of content.
I think that's a good explanation. I'm going to back up for a minute. Now, I want to tell you that I'm going to want to get back to how you tailor the content to a target market, to an industry and stuff. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But for our listeners, I want to back up and tell you in a bird's eye overview why content is so important. When you have an online lead generation presence, you first of all need your website like your headquarters. It needs to explain everything that you are very concisely and so that it can make the conversion. But in order to get prospects to it, It's best that you create some good content that perhaps you could put on in your blog. So it's an ever building library of searchable content. And some of you, many of us know the term SEO, search engine optimization, and you'll build these kind of keywords that are search engine optimized so Google can find you, but you want to push at least bits and pieces of this content out to social media where you build prospects, where you build interest that lead them back to your website. And if you're really smart, you also have an integrated email campaign, and you maybe offer some freebie lead magnets, we call them, white papers, ebooks, and things like that in exchange for an email address. And this is where you can where you build a tribe and hopefully slowly convert some of that tribe into clientele. All of this needs fuel. I just described the engine of it, the nuts and bolts, but your fuel is content. And Thomas, you and I talked about briefly before we went live how, man, if you just think you're going to put anything out there, any gobbledygook out there, you're going to push people away and they're never going to come back. People will be like, that's bad content, I'm never coming back there. So you need quality content. Getting back to this, Thomas, I want you to please tell me, how do you discern the targeting? How do you niche it down? How do you define the industry, and get that really appropriate content for that person or company?
You're describing an industry problem with AI writing only, or even agency writing only, or content creation. And content can be text, visual, audio, video. It could be any of that. That's all types of content. It's a means to communicate something, right?
Right.
What we found is you have to have a personalized approach, and every one of our customers comes on with an onboarding and a consultation, understand what their goal and objective is. And if you can't provide that, we don't even take you as a customer, because there's no reason for you to write a piece of anything if you can't figure out what a goal is 12 months from now. And it could be any goal, but if you can't define it, then we start there. And the second piece is, there's a whole budget piece too. You're gonna have to feed it. This is an investment into yourself, into your brand. So you have to think in 12-month segments of what could I afford every month to put toward this, either it be by time or money or both. And if you can't do that, then don't commit to that, because you're just going to fall flat. So those two things come together to understand the expectation, but also then shapes what type of content, how much, and where it should live. Now, I'll challenge you on one point. You do need a website. You need your blog. You need to have that as your kind of your home. However, that costs money and that takes time. It takes some skill set. And sometimes people just don't have the investment to do it. So what even we did last year is we had the table stakes website landing page, and there's remnants of it still on ours, but it wasn't the goal. Our goal was actually to use LinkedIn as the center point. We leveraged an existing giant SEO enriched platform, because you're more likely to be found through an article you write and publish on LinkedIn than you are through your own blog initially. So if you're establishing your brand, you're establishing your presence, LinkedIn's a really good place to kind of just go all in on. And it'll really help you identify who your customers are, what messages you should be saying, what they're actually buying. And then you can go to your site and start doing SEO blog driven things that work. Now, we just started this specifically on that plan about almost to a year later as scheduled. And our blog is actually getting traffic because we know exactly what we need to go say on the last few. And it's really working to drive more and more and more attention on the website. But I didn't want to start there because first impressions, right? I can do more on LinkedIn and I can pull posts. I can say, oh, that one didn't work, or this didn't work. But your home is your home, and people go in there, if you give the analogy and there's crap all over the walls and nothing's clean, I don't really want to come back to this house. Yeah. But if I'm visiting LinkedIn, I'm like, there's a lot of other distractions. It's like a mall. Maybe this store will get better. You can kind of play with it and learn your way a little bit first. So I think end game, you need that blog, you need the SEO, and you need all those things, but I think you can go along the way. Anyway, that being said, that the strategy that deforms because of your goal and your budget and your time commitment determines what type of content you need to create to fit that. And so the more is more. So if you have more time, more budget, you can create a lot more. If you can't define your kind of top personas, the questions your customers are asking, you're going to have a tough time writing content. So we help you guys work through that. And then we really zone it in, narrow and deep on a few, and then broad out from there. And don't think this is an advertisement kind of content. This is just using social media algorithms on the organic side, on the personal side, because either you're B2B or B2C, your people still buy from people. On B2B, they just buy from committee, but it's just more account based of who you got to influence. So we write everything to the personal level and take it that way. But that's how it starts. And that's how you determine then what types of content you're going to need, sustain, and then create.
All right, couple questions. So you specialize in LinkedIn a bunch. So I would immediately think, well, then you're concentrating more on business to business, B2B, correct? Or is it, what's a percentage versus business to consumer, B2C?
So our personal one is probably it's about a mix of half to half.
Really?
There's plenty of B2C on LinkedIn. But here's the thing. For me, the strategy was LinkedIn. We do other customers that are almost completely Instagram or Twitter. And it doesn't matter because it's just a different formation of the same messaging and content, different types of image sizes, different look and feel, like different delivery of mobile versus desktop. That's all kind of determined as part of that strategy of what content, where it should live, and how often, and how do you engage with it. And you don't too much content, not enough engagement, no strategy, a little event in the middle doesn't happen. So you need the right balance of content by volume, the right amount of strategy, and the right amount of engagement to really drive an optimal set for that budget. And if you have too much or too little of the other, you just fall dismal on the results. So us personally, we sell a lot to B2B. There are individuals, but they're kind of solopreneurs. There's very few like influencer types or people who just, that's not a good persona because there's no real financial goal, right? I just want to get more followers. Well, that's not a goal we typically help because why? And so you can do it anywhere. Ours was initially though, like the same strategy we give to our customers. We went narrow and deep on LinkedIn for the year to see what kind of impact we had. We had great impact. And now we're branching out to see where we can do our next narrow and deep impact.
Okay, that's really interesting.
It looks like Instagram, by the way. It looks like that's the one's got the highest traction so far. So
really,
yeah, thought that would, or not Twitter. I don't get Twitter.
Now, okay, when you're doing Instagram, are you focusing on video?
So we're starting Reels. We're starting doing more of those, like a daily piece, which those Reels can easily become TikToks or Shorts on YouTube as well. But we're focusing on carousel and just maybe more imagery based posts to drive. Initially, it's a following, and then you start trying to monetize it once you figure out on Instagram what the right messages should be to attract an Instagram user. For us, our biggest pieces are probably Instagram. People are doing well on Instagram, but that want to move to LinkedIn. We could definitely help them do that transition, just using their old content. And just say repurpose it and create a whole new set and build a following on LinkedIn. Well, that's the shift we're probably looking for.
Okay, aren't you using the same content on both platforms though?
We are, but LinkedIn, you have more words, right? You can do more talking, more storytelling, and the algorithm's rewarding you for it. On Instagram, people will just blow right by you if you don't have big words, pretty pictures, right? So it's a different messaging type. Same content, but it's delivered differently. So it requires a different kind of skill set to create.
And do you have any tricks to prompt engagement? Because I know it's like I push out my case studies and all that automatically to all my social channels all the time, LinkedIn obviously being one of them. But until somebody engages with it, it's like you get so little traffic. Do you have any tricks in order to spur engagement, or do you and your team actually try to personally get a ball rolling with a comment or something like that?
Yeah, that kind of golden hour or so is, a good trick is to tag, let's say, 10 relevant people that you have a decent relationship with, or 20. And the more you tag, you don't be spammy, but if you have 10 relevant, 20 relevant people in a post you want to tag, and you let them know ahead of time, hey, I have a really important kind of post coming up. I'm going to tag you in it. Would you be okay at 9 o'clock to reshare it, comment on mine and reshare it, and do a nice and do a reshare on your comment on yours? And let's say like even half do it. Your chances for visibility kind of go 10x out because initially a great deal of people tagged in it, engaged with it legitimately, and went out.
That's brilliant.
That's a nice one. Another easy hack is just always tag the last 10 people who connected with you on LinkedIn or in your messages on the right on your next post, and just look in the right. So bring up your messages, write your post, and tag each of the people that last connected with you, because they're the most recent ones to sell you something or do something. They're more likely to interact with it because they're going to think they're going to get time with you or whatever, but that drives engagement on your post to give an 10x share out as well. So if you have like kind of a esoteric, fluffy post, that's a good thing to do because you don't really care about if they're offended or not, they're tagged. The ones that are much more business related.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I did like kind of our top 20 prospects in a post last year on a poll that had nothing to do with it, but I knew the poll was going to do well just by kind of looking at, and the poll did like 540,000 views and like 22,000 votes. and it's 16 of the 20 signed up, because when you tag them, every time someone voted or commented or liked it, they got a ding in their inbox. They're like, holy cow, dude, you were in my inbox for a week. I'm like, that was the point. I can do that for you too. And
Whoa.
so there's little tricks you can do, even if you do, let's say, a poll on something related to, for yours, like, what's the biggest hurdle on starting, and you tag 10 people that have all accomplished this. They've started over, and they start commenting in, they'll see it. So it's a great way to get leads, polls, if you pull the answers down people give and you contact them. So there's lots of little tricks like that.
Okay. And I do want to explain for everybody, tagging people simply means at the end of your story, at the end of your post, that you put the @ sign there, type their name in, and then the suggested name will come up, and to verify that you got the right person, and then they get pinged on it. So that's all there is to it. And it's really powerful. I like the idea about the last people that have joined your posse that will show up there.
The last 10 that messaged you. So if you're like me, tons of inbound in-mail requests, I just tag them on posts and get them to interact with my content, which helps reshare it.
That's really brilliant. And there's so much noise on LinkedIn today. And it started about 3 to 4 years ago, I think. All of these, I think there's SaaS softwares that could automatically, it seemed like there's about 3 or 4 that all of a sudden started saying, we could build your following. We're going to reach out to all these people through AI. And when they reply back, we're going to give a series of 3 replies to make sure that they follow you. And you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And I'm telling you, we use some of those through the LinkedIn APIs. You will get some letters about automation if you're using those too aggressively, because it gets very spammy.
Oh, yes.
And it is very effective for building a following. I mean, and honestly, it truly does work. And I dropped the lower third there. Okay, here we go. And I will tell you that since it's a podcast, that'll mean nothing to most people, but anybody who watches the video are really going to enjoy.
Right.
Shameless plug. And that was my other thing. Always shamelessly plug. Calendly.com/Instarel. Meet with Thomas.
Very good.
Anyway, the point is that you should use those, but I found the ones that have been automated are ones that people don't know they're automated. Where I have one that goes and says effectively, "Hey, I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia. I see you're based out of Atlanta. I'm just connecting with local founders. Nice to meet you. Very, howdy. Don't put their name in it. Nothing.
That's nice.
And then they connect it at 35-40% rate." And
That's
they
good.
with the intent of just networking, and several become customers just by learning about them. Here's another good trick on any of your social media things: give at least 3 times before you ask anything. And I don't mean like an endorsement. I don't mean like, if you send me a 15-page message on LinkedIn, I usually reply too long, and that's it. And usually some people will come back with, we do this. I'm like, that's better. Just leave with that.
Oh.
But is give 3 times. So if you want to go connect with me, legitimately go read 3 of my posts, comment on it, maybe ask me a question back, and actually engage. Don't ask for anything. Don't even send a LinkedIn request. Go do that 3 times, and then come in and say, hey, I read the last few posts of yours. Very interesting. I'd love to learn more, whatever it is. I'd like to connect with you just so I can see your posts more often, or something. Do that. And that's
huge.
Kind of bootstrapping type of approach. Actually, people will like the vanity of someone reading their post. They'll like the idea that you're actually interacting with it. You have a much higher chance of selling them or getting them a meeting or doing anything if you truly just don't lead with the long email, the link, and the white paper all attached in one first message.
And I'll also say that you have to make a personalized mention of the post, not, oh, I see you're putting out some great posts there.
Exactly.
And that they're sending that out to 3,000 people.
Exactly. I don't use Loom or these videos. I'll probably start using them this year a little bit more. It's a little bit heavy. I don't know, heavy-handed is the right word. They're very effective, but I don't have a ton of time. But if you're doing a very targeted, hey, listen, I just want to connect with 5 people a week, and every day I'm going to send one video, personal connection video to somebody, they're incredibly effective. I almost always watch them as long as they're short and they seem to be of high quality and legit. For a long time, I thought some AI was doing. I'm like, how the hell are they doing this? But it's just people working, and I love that, at least the hustle of it. But those are very effective too in LinkedIn and other messaging, is send someone a personalized message. That's really smart.
Okay, that's great. And Thomas, what can you tell my audience who, again, is probably somebody like that would be interested in what you have to offer, would be probably 55-ish, fed up with corporate America, been dying to do their own thing, a consultation type gig. And they are challenged. They know they're challenged in the content development part of this. What do you have to offer? Maybe to start out cost effective, and or to go full right to the wall, really blast it out.
Yeah, I mean, I love shameless plugs, so I'll take all of your opportunity. Honestly, I always start the consultation. I just want to meet with you to understand your journey a bit. Where you're trying to go. The goals are super important, because if like I said, if you don't have that, or you just can't define it, that's the first place we start. Is why are you online at all? What are you trying to do? Mm-hmm. And okay, here that then we can start something as cheap as like about $100 a month, creating cool little short posts or carousels, up to no, I'm ready to do full marketing, but I don't want to hire a whole team. When we can be that entire piece that creates the content, that engages, that manages all your social media, website, all that stuff. So full area of that. All that has embedded strategy, but the Calendar, like I said, .com/Install is how you get a hold of me one-on-one for 30 minutes. Just use it, ask questions, and just do. You'll learn a lot in that meeting, and I'll learn a lot about you. And that's the place to start. You can check out the website, but truthfully, most people right now end up just calling me and asking questions and try to sort it out. I do a bunch of mentoring for Founder Institute for their go-to-market. And so that's another area that could definitely help anybody who's kind of starting a business, trying to sort through it. Tired of paying way too much for ads, or just not seeing they just can't get their traction. I do this a lot with a lot of founders globally, and it really help them, get out of being an engineer mode and start thinking like a CEO, and start thinking like a marketing machine. Because what I find is most people, they have their old roles that they wanted to leave, but that's what they know. Mm-hmm. And so they don't know how to get out of that box of thinking. They only know what they saw other people do, but even then you're still replicating it, something that didn't work great, probably. So it's probably not a good spot. I'll help you get through that and help you focus on where to spend money and time, and not waste either of those things in that context.
That's beautiful. And if you want to just tell me a little bit about the background of your company, what has been very a successful target market for you, let's say, and did Instaroll evolve with AI, as AI has evolved so much in the last just few years?
Yeah. Well, the target market evolved too, so this is one of the things I liked about the kind of having the ability to do high volume content, and how we can transcend that to our customers. We initially thought, hey, listen, I think coaches and these kind of, like, there's tons of them on LinkedIn. They are all writing tons of content. It came out flat or very regurgitated, like they had the same coach telling them how to coach. Like it just didn't seem great. Absolutely, there was a need, but there's no budget. They can't afford it, because they can't even. They're just struggling to get, hunt and eat. Then we moved into more of like marketing leads. So, we're targeting people probably 35 to 50 female, male mix that have a marketing title. Also interested, but also then we found that they'd sign up, and then they would be so KPI and so metrics focused on something and expect results in 30 days as if it was an ad. So their mentality was so embedded in old school marketing that they don't last long, because they're great customers. You can do a ton. They love the content, but they can't quantify it to their bosses fast enough to justify the spend. So
this is important.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's very important. Yeah,
I did want to ask you a while ago when you were talking about your measurement strategy, and I have my own proprietary way of measuring different things. I do a lot of content marketing and SEO improvement with my clients, but tell me about yours. So if somebody's going onto your website, considering signing up with you, the first thing they're going to wonder is, well, how do I know if this is going to be working for me?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and results vary, right? Because it depends on where you're starting. And if we just use LinkedIn as the initial base, how many followers you have, how active you've been, are you selling a product that has 100,000 people who care about it, or you have a service that 2 million care about? And so your expectations and results will be completely proportional and related and correlated to that. It'll also be to your persona, and if you're not very, people buy into you no matter what you're selling or doing. So if you don't have it, and I've told plenty of customers you're a pain in the ass. And here's why, but just as long as we're on the same page, and most of them get it by that time. But I will tell you this, we'll outperform anything you're doing by yourself. you'll get a higher level of followers. You'll get more views on posts. You'll have more content to leverage in the future and currently. We'll do it cleaner, more professionally, and you will save a ton more time. And however you want to quantify that to your value is up to you. I mean, if you have time to do all your content right now and create it, it's doing well, then by all means, you should do it. But at some point, you'll have customers and you'll have business. And unless you're set up to scale from day one, which would be great, it just means you have a burn on the back end ready for scale while you're growing. If you have that, you should do it because you save money doing it. Mm-hmm. But if the higher value activity is to go do talks and go get on podcasts or be that CEO or be that entrepreneur who's out there doing lead generation more often and not writing as much, that's the time saving and value savings that we should quantify, because that's where we will absolutely perform, is we will save you an absolute incredible amount of time. I think I've told you this. I went from like 30 hours a week down to 1 hour a week into social media. And I have coverage in all my social media accounts. I mean, like Twitch to TikTok to Facebook, like the team now has all of it, and I don't have to do any of it. I choose to go in for fun. So I know it's a long-winded answer, and usually that's a bad way to answer it. But we don't currently have the dashboard set up to show the metrics. What we show though is, and I've seen, is we'll outperform anything you've been doing in the past, because that's why you're to us. It wasn't working, and we'll do it. We'll do it better.
There's two things I want to expound on there that I thought you brought up brilliantly. The one is, if you're not sure what to do, how to do it, when you hear content marketing, getting started like this can show you. As you said, you're going to do it way better than what I'm going to do on my own as a novice getting started. Well, you can learn this way starting off. Here's the other thing though, too. I say this to my clients a lot. If you're in an industry where a new client may have a valuation, like I have an electrical safety training guy, each new client is a minimum of $3,000 investment to him, to his company. Well, if you got a $3,000 valuation on bringing a new client on board, don't spend all your time, 5 hours a day creating your content and pushing it out on social media, when it's more important for you to be servicing these clients, when it's going to make you more money rather than wasting all of your time. Time is money. And for some of us, it's a lot more money than others. So give that some consideration.
Yeah, I'll expand on that a bit too. So if you think about it, right, when we try to fill the gaps of anybody's marketing. So if you already have a marketing team, we can fill a gap from either the engagement piece or higher volume content, or creating certain types of content you're not finding time to create. If you have no marketing team or no one at all, you're not just getting a person, you're getting like a team of 8 distributed that do lots of things well to fill the need of your subscription. So you're getting a massive team for a fraction of the cost. If you were to hire the equivalents of what we can do in a month for most companies, you'd be paying 15 to 20K salary a month minimum. And we target on the kind of the higher end premium customers, like that really go all in for us to be their marketing. They're in between 3,000 and 6,000. And so the savings by, you want a metric, that's your biggest metric, is you can either, the final question was like, where's your target market? Well, after marketers, we saw that though we could absolutely help them, they're just, the mindset wasn't quite right. The people who've really done well are startup CEOs and founders who are somewhat funded, either be seed or Series A or WeFunder or something like this, or Republic, who have some money, who need to get content created, but really would rather spend as much money and time on product engineering and sales development, and less so on creating the content and spending a ton. Because I see this in companies all the time. They bring in new marketing and it's like bunnies in the spring. I mean, there's just, all of a sudden there's 50 marketing managers, there's a digital manager, there's a social media manager. And I'm like, you don't need all that.
Right.
It's like fractional time of a day. And you should use an outsourced type of approach that leverages technology to accelerate. And we use AI for the writing piece. We use a ton of automation and other data-driven things for engagement and content development. We use other stuff to make sure the articles are better, similar to Grammarly or Hemingway. There's a lot that goes into it that you don't have to see. You just get a good product. But our target audience are technology-based tech products and services, startups, typically people who want to be in the Western market, who need that voice. So there's a lot of foreign companies that really want to get into the US market. They leverage us to help capture that voice for them.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Really appreciate your intel here, your advice, and I'm going to make sure that all of your contact information is in our show notes. But do you have anything, offer, ebook, anything? How can we find you? What can you leave our audience with there?
Well, I have a special that we just started. We're doing these carousels. If you don't know what a carousel is, it is like a think of a PDF document that goes left to right, and it can tell a story. And I'm doing one of those, like a 7-page one plus time with me one-on-one for only $99 a month. Or you can buy a bunch of them at once, and you can do it this way. But for only $99, you'll get this really good piece of content that could be leveraged in sales cycles. It can be done in a post. It could be reused in a post. It could be featured on your profile. You can use it on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. They're high value. The algorithms love them because they're visual plus text, so they're SEO. They're all ready to go. We're doing those for $99 right now.
That's beautiful.
I use Linktree, if you guys know what it is, linktr.ee/AI nerd. There are a ton of things to me for AI nerd, but for the YouTube channel and for InstaRel, in addition to publications on Forbes and Entrepreneur and AI journals with cognitive brains, things like that. So there's a bunch of links on there as well.
All right, fantastic. Again, they'll be in the show notes. Thomas, thank you so much for being with us, and hope to do this again soon.
Of course, I appreciate it. Thanks for cleaning your house. It's spotless for those who can't see. He has the most spotless home ever.
That's Lisa.
It makes me think that if it's kind of like when you go to the beach, right? You look at the beach in the Caribbean, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. But if you turn around from the hotel, it's usually like a disaster of years and years of hurricanes. That's, I'm thinking, if you put a mirror up in the back, okay, I can derail any meeting. Second talent.
All right,
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Go to over50startingover.com to sign up and get all this in your email box as it happens. Thank you.